scoring in at 64686 for my good friend Tony Scott at Youth Hockey Hub on the X machine at Youth Hockey Hub and youthhockeyhub.com. They do great work. You were just getting massive accolades from the boss. Chad Abbott swung by to say that he's a big fan of all your work, and for good reason. Tony, welcome, and thank you for coming in studio.
Well, it's fun always to come in person because over the phone and not the nonverbals and Pat McLetty, you never know what's going to come at you. So here I can see your face, and this is going to be a blast.
Take it all in.
Way easier face-to-face than over the phone.
It definitely is. With that comes the trip up Highway 100. I assume your commute was a little easier than Brett Blakemore's the other night?
Oh, come on.
I went home that night like 9 because we had some stuff. We was watching all those hockey games. I'm like, I'm not going to go fight through all this stuff here now. I'm just going to watch hockey from here with my 5 iPads and go home after. So
we'll update you on the Olympics as we go. We're in the semifinals. Canada taking on Finland as we speak. 5:54 left to go in the first, and they are scoreless in Milan. Finland out shooting the Canadians 7-3, so trying to apply the pressure here early on. We'll see if they can dethrone the Canadians.
Did you guys see
pull it down?
The 6th attacker goal by, was it Czechia or Slovakia?
No, which game?
It was in the quarters against Canada.
Yeah.
Brett, tell us what you saw, because what I saw on the Twitterverse, I didn't see it, but the fact that they were celebrating, there were 6 skaters while celebrating on the ice. Could you imagine had Canada lost? They would have been overturning maple syrup. Maple syrup barrels have been flipped over. They've been rioting for years.
But then the best part is, after the game, it were the Czechs that were complaining about the officiating.
Yeah.
They were the ones that were complaining about it.
They would have been in overtime had it been for the officiating. They would have been short-handed.
Yeah, every local breakfast place would have felt the impact and the ripple effects of Canada losing that game.
Unbelievable.
No doubt. So, again, I got some great stuff coming in here from the text line, and we will get to those as we go through this next half hour. Let's start with I want to talk about the high school tournament. I want to talk about the sections. There's so much going on in the world of youth hockey, but let's start with that overtime game. 13 overtime epic battle at the Woog between Cottage Grove and St. Paul. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a 12U B1 game, and it lasted an eternity.
3 days. Okay, first of all, shout out to my buddy Kevin Dolan, St. Paul, West St. Paul guy. He's like, you got to check this out. It was 6 overtimes, 3 hours and 25-minute game. They had to end it. We're going to go back tomorrow night. So I tweeted out. Chris Long from KSTP picks up. This is really cool. So he keeps an eye on it. The second night, they don't finish the second night, 4 overtimes that night. He goes out there with a camera crew. Remember what night it was? It was the blizzard night.
Yeah, that's right.
So Chris is out there in a blizzard, and they finally get the game over with. People are like, oh, it's a joke that they changed it. District 8 is the only one that I know doesn't have a overtime shootout policy. So they play 5-on-5 for all 10 of those overtimes. And they finally, the district, because the next game was yesterday, they finally had to change the rules. Hey, we're going to go 3-on-3 on the third period today, and then we're going to do a shootout. And finally, Ashlyn Anderson scores the winner, and this Lindsay Petty, 96 saves on 97 shots for the Wolfpack. Pretty cool story. The fact that it made Sports Center, who would have saw that coming,
I cannot even comprehend that. As a guy who watches a lot of youth hockey, got a couple of kids in the St. Louis Park system, 13 overtimes over the course of 3 days. That's a lot.
Insane.
A lot to comprehend.
Insane.
All right, so that's what's going on the youth side. Let's go to the girls' high school hockey tournament happening as we speak. We're through the quarterfinals in both single A and double A. That sets the stage for semifinal Friday. That's always an exciting day, whether it's on the boys or the girls' side. As I look, top 4 seeds all advance in both classes, so no real surprises?
I think the surprise in the A was Mankato East. 3 through 6, we talked about this on Saturday. 3 through 6 was a flip of a coin. So the Mankato East Blake game, Mankato East outshot Blake 50-21. They just poured it on that night, and their goaltender, Janie McGaughan, Dartmouth commit for Blake, was unbelievable. That was the only minor surprise out of any of the 8 games played. But yeah, what a performance by Janie, and she could be the stalwart this weekend for the Bears.
All right, so you got some good matchups left on both sides, whether it be single A or double A. That includes Warroad against Dodge County. What excites you about that matchup?
First of all, it's a rematch of last year's state final that went to overtime. overtime, right? Zoe Heimer scores the game winner and she points it. They disallow the goal. They got to go upstairs and she knows it's a goal. The whole rink knows it's a goal except the two officials who couldn't see the puck get behind Raleigh, the goaltender for Warroad. So we got a rematch of that one today. That's exciting. And then you got Blake Breck. This is like Interlaken versus Woodhill. This is the Patagonia Championship of the World. And all these kids know each other from Blake and Breck. It's a great rivalry. They're only 3.2 miles apart from each other, right? We split them right here on I-100.
Of course.
It's going to be a fantastic game. That game will be packed. That'll be a great environment for the girls this afternoon.
So that's on the single A level. Double A, you got Hill Murray against Edina. I mean, just saying those two cities and those two schools out loud tells me there's going to be a rivalry and a whole lot of green.
Well, this is another rematch of the state final from last year. You can't ask for anything better. It's going to be Green Breezers versus, that's what I always call. When you play Edina, you got the kryptonite of the Green Breezers. Kids just stare at those things to see all the championships, both on the boys and the girls side. It's going to be a great game. I think Hill Murray's the superior team in this one. It could be a 3 or 4 goal win by the Pioneers. You're going to look back, Kevin, in about 4 years. You may never do this, but I will. In 3-4 years, you're going to look at this roster for Hill Murray that Johnny Pohl and Chris C. Wendell Pohl have put together. You're going to go, that's a better roster than most Division I teams.
Wow.
That's how good this team is. They're stacked. They got the best 9th grader in the state. They got the best 10th grader in the state. They have obviously one of the best juniors in the state, and Emily, their daughter. It's a stacked roster, and I feel like they're going to win this tournament, but crazier things have happened.
So that's Hill Murray against Edina later on today and later on tonight. Centennial against Holy Family. What intrigues you about that one?
Well, if these teams have played 3 times already this year, guess what the total goal score is in these 3 games?
It's probably low.
7-7.
Okay.
I mean, these two teams are dead even. It's going to be, it's a flip of coin game at the end of the day tonight, and that's going to be a late one. It'll be 9, 10, 11 o'clock when that game finally gets over.
Of course, that's the beauty of semifinal Friday. It looks like Mikko Rantanen on the board for the Finns to break the scoreless tie. 1-0 in favor of Finland. 3:05 left to go in the first. I think it was a power play marker, but Finland breaks through early on against the mighty Canadian team. Just an awesome shot from the left circle, top corner right over Bennington's glove, and it's one zip.
It crushes me. I'm just feel so bad for our neighbors to the north.
Yeah.
So bad.
We were talking about, and we'll get back to the high school scene. We were talking about what a disappointment it would be if it wasn't. America still has to get past Slovakia, so that's not a given. But let's assume they do. Would you be disappointed if it's not Canada on Sunday morning?
I want Canada to lose in every aspect of every game of hockey.
Oh,
I don't care.
What about curling?
A man after my own heart.
What about figure skating?
Even curling, those cheating curlers. I want them gone too.
Yeah. I saw a great meme of the gold medal winning goal for USA, and it photoshopped the guy touching it with his pointer finger, the curler, behind the goal line. Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's top notch memes action there. I like it.
All right, so back to the girls' tournament. Who are the players to watch? Who are you going to be focusing on? Who do you think is going to have an impact today and throughout the day?
I'm going to give you one each. I'm going to give you the one that everybody knows, right? Okay. If you look at Warroad, for example, it's going to be Peyton Raleigh, the goaltender. She's, up for goal of the year. She was our goalie of the year last year. She's a gopher commit. But there's another one out there you're going to keep an eye on. Is Olivia Anthony. This is Nick Anthony, the former Gophers daughter. She's a freshman. She's got 40-plus points. I saw her against Holy Family this year. She lit up, against Holy Family. She lit up Holy Family. And she's got a lot of skill. And she's got an uncle who's not bad either, Keith Ballard. So this is going to be a girl you're going to definitely change the game today if Warroad wins today.
I saw the Ms. Hockey finalists are down to 5. Are you able to talk about that? Who do you think is going to take down home the hardware Sunday?
That's a really good question because, the 2 best players, no one's going to dispute this, are Lainey Ganetz from Centennial and Maddie Kimbrell from Holy Family, but they're both transfers. So transfers kind of get a little bit of a nick against them. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. It could be Lorelai Nelson. She's had a great season, a great career. I think of Miss Hockey as more of a Lifetime Achievement Award, someone who's had a great career over the years, and Lorelai has definitely had that. But it could be any one of them. If you're going to give it to the best player in the state, watch Holy Family. That's the one if you're going to point at that. Maddie Kimbrell is something else. She just changes the game her energy, her speed, her everything changes the game every time she's on the ice. Something magical is going to happen. She's one of our Player of the Year finalists. She comes in the office. She is the life of the party in the room, right? Everybody's life of the party. And then you put a microphone in front of her face.
Oh, no.
She won't say a word. Take the
I've known a
microphone
couple
off.
of players like that.
She was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. She goes, I hate my phone. Don't even send me anything on my phone. Which of the 5 players sent me a thank you after the game, after the media day? Maddie Kimbrough.
Of course.
She's got it all put together. She's fun to watch.
All right, so those are some of the players to watch. Before I move over to the boys' side, I heard this conversation, and this is something that's been around girls hockey forever, playing the tournament at Grand Casino Arena. I want to know where you sit. Usually, my opinion is, if there's 5,000 people there, it feels hollow, it feels cavernous. If you put them at Ritter, it would feel like a full building. But I listened to, it was the Holy Family coach on with PA yesterday, and he was talking about, he was making the argument for why it should be there, why it belongs there, and why it means so much for these girls to be at Grand Casino Arena and play at the spot where the boys make the memories, where the Wild make the memories. He says it means something special to those gals, and he loves having it at Grand Casino Arena. How about you?
One of the other things you left off, it's where the Minnesota Frost make their memories too.
Good point.
I'm pointing that out today. I'm like, you should take your daughter. If you're listening right now and you have a 10A or a 12A or a 12B and you want to give her an aspiration, this is where your daughter should be aspiring to play in the state tournament at the at Grand Casino, whatever you want to call it. Fill the bowl today. I'm seriously, bring your daughters to the rink and let them see great high school hockey. See Maddie Kimbrough, see Emily Pohl, see Peyton Rowley, see Janie McGaughan, see some of these great players that are going to be on display. They're all going to Division I. They could all be future Olympians someday. This is the place to go. Do I like going? I would rather go watch a band at the 7th Street entry, than sometimes at the First Avenue, right? First Avenue is half full. I'd rather go see them at the entry, have it packed. Yeah, I kind of agree with the sentiment of playing at Ritter, but let's give them a place where they can fill it someday. And I think I've seen it really close when Peyton Hemp's Andover team in 2021 beat Edina Uma Cornier. That lower bowl was almost practically full. It can get there. It's just got to be a great rivalry like Andover and Edina had a few years back. Blake Breck will be great today. There's going to be some great games here today and tomorrow at Grand Casino.
All right, so that's what's going on the girls' side. Again, it's happening all week long. Semifinal Friday today through tonight, and then champions will be crowned tomorrow, Grand Casino Arena in St. Paul. Meanwhile, boys section tournaments happening across the state. I had a good one last night. Of course, my ties to St. Louis Park. Went and watched them play Orono, and one of the best players in the state in Jackson Knight. It was a free for all. It ended up being
9-6, wasn't it?
9-6 was the final, but at one point the score was a 3-goal separation. We were at the end of regulation. We said they got to score a goal a minute to pull within to give themselves a chance. They scored twice in the final 2 minutes to make it a 1-goal hockey game. Yep. And then Orono went and scored 2 into an empty net. But just an unbelievable hockey game. Orono moves on. They'll face off against Delano. That's in Section 2A. Yep. The semifinals will continue there. What intrigues you about the rest of the section tournaments going on around the state?
Just so we can finish off what we didn't finish last Saturday, you cut me off.
Okay.
I wanted to point out that I thought I had this all ready. It was Leo Schmoll and Marty Hurdy.
Yeah.
Thunder and Lightning. I had their stats. I was going to talk about how I had these kids in a COVID morning league over at the rec center. And I love the St. Louis Park kids. And my heart goes out to them after losing last night. And I've just known those kids, a lot of these SLP kids, they're special kids. It's a little bit different, as you know, in St. Louis Park than Edina, where they have hockey, and these kids are just different kids and special, funny kids with a lot of personality, a little bit of Minneapolis flair to them, if you know what I mean, because they live so close to the city. I've always loved the inner ring teams like Armstrong and St. Louis Park, and Jefferson, Richfield, Roseville. Those are the teams. Those are what we need to covet here in the state of Minnesota. As you keep those strong, you're going to have a strong hockey community here throughout the state.
They have some big holes to fill. You mentioned a couple of them. Hurdy, 100-some points in his career at St. Louis Park. Leo Schmoll, a hat trick last night. He's just a junior. Hopefully he's back next year as well. So there are some good things happening in St. Louis Park. Unfortunately, it wasn't last night. Their season is done. Orono lives to see another day. And by the way, I got a chance to see that Jackson Knight up close.
He's something else.
Fourth in this in the state in scoring. And by the way, he was last night. He extended his goal streak to 10 games with at least a goal. He's now got 23 goals in his last 10 games, including a 6-goal outburst against Chaska. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in Orono.
That's
in Orono history.
Record.
Yeah. So
state champion, the whole deal. I mean, the whole deal. The kid has done it all.
Yeah. There's nothing better. The state tournament is going to be great, and semifinal Friday on the boys' side is going to be great, and the quarterfinals are always nuts. But there's nothing better than the section tournaments, and those are going on as we speak.
There's the big one tonight. It's as big as it gets.
What is it?
As big as section semifinal. They're usually on Saturday, but tonight for scheduling reasons, 3AA, the southeastern metro section with Cretin, St. Thomas, Rosemount, and Eastview, they're playing tonight because they were lucky enough to get the Lee and Penny Anderson rink for their section final over at St. Thomas on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So they had to give the boys a little bit of a leeway, a little pressure. So they're playing tonight at Bloomington Ice Garden, Eastview and Rosemount in the public school side of the section semifinals, and then the private school CDH and STA will play at 8:00 tonight. Both games will be amazing. If you really want to dig into it, like how did St. Thomas, the number 3 team in the state, not get the number 1 section seed? You want to dig into that a little bit, or do you want to just keep cruising?
No, dig into it.
So
I've got a hard out, by the way. I got to get out at 10:30. I got Woody Paige calling us, so I want to give
Woody Paige.
We've got an 11-minute window here.
Such a name dropper. Such a name
No,
dropper.
that wasn't name dropping.
Way back from my Denver days. Are you going to do that, right?
Yes.
I know.
In fact, I am.
No big deal. All right, so they have the coaches meetings. The coaches vote, and there had to be some collusion amongst the public schools, like your Egans and your Cottage Groves. Now I should put Cottage Grove down in the same section. Egan, Eastview, Rosemount. Those schools must have colluded somehow because Rosemount and St. Thomas got tied for the same amount of points in the vote. They did a coin flip, but the kind of coin flip you do online where you hit the button and it circles around and it picks, and that is how Rosemount got the number 1 seed and St. Thomas got the number 2 seed.
Interesting, because especially we've talked about it on Beyond the Pond, what they did leading into the tournament. I'm just surprised that that's the way it broke, and they ended up getting the number 1 seed.
Yeah, so. It's good. We had Cole Brownhausen in the office that morning when they found out, and one of the Player of the Year finalists. I'm sure he'll probably be a Mr. Hockey finalist when that's announced today. But Cole says, well, it doesn't matter. We got to win 3 games. So does it matter the order of the games? We're here just to win 3 games to get to state tournament. That's all that matters. So They're playing their 3rd game, what likely have been their 3rd game against Cretin tonight over at Bloomington, sold out in 14 minutes when tickets went on sale the other day.
Let me sprinkle in some of these questions coming in at 64686.
This ought to be good.
This one from Bonesaw. Who's got the hardest route to the state in AA? Is it Minnetonka? Is it Moorhead? Or is it Edina?
Oh, Edina, for sure. They played a really good Armstrong Cooper team last night, and then they'll just cruise right into a battle with Holy Angels, who they played in our tournament down in Prior Lake, and then they'll play the winner of Wyzetta and Rogers. That's a gauntlet right there. If you went back and look at Armstrong's record, they had some great wins this year. So to play those 3 teams back to back to back, that's Edina will be tournament tested if they make it to the state tournament again this year.
From the 612 area code, shout out to the Rogers Royals. Let's go. Also appreciates the Armstrong shout out from the 907 area code. No idea where that is. Tony, is Amsoil Arena the best place for hockey fans to be tomorrow?
No question about it. Every game is good. Proctor takes on Hibbing. Hibbing got another. Hibbing. No, I can't remember. One of those teams got in because it was Proctor and International Falls had a coin flip via the same way to get in their section too. So that'll be a great day. I mean, the Hermantown Cloquet game. The biggest question is how healthy is Hermantown? They've had a lot of injuries the last couple of weeks, including their goaltender Bryce Francisco. If he's healthy, they're healthy. Hermantown's going to go to state. I think they can beat both Hibbing and Cloquet to make it to state. But don't count out Proctor. They already beat Hermantown this year, so it's going to be fun. We got a guy up there. He'll be there all day, covering every minute. You'll get an update from every period at Amsoil tomorrow.
You got your tentacles everywhere, right? You're a crew for youth hockey. We talk about this every week on Beyond the Pond. You guys are I don't know how you do it and how you get it done, but it feels like you guys are anywhere and everywhere at any given time.
I think the formula for us is just you go to the rink, you meet another, misfit toy like the rest of us, and they say, hey, you want to cover this one here? Yeah, we'll cover that one. We'll get paid a few bucks, and they go. But most of these people aren't doing this to get rich. They're doing it because they love covering the game. They love telling a story, and we're just a bunch of storytellers that are going all over the state. Obviously, we did all 16 of the girls section finals. We'll be at all 16 of the boys section finals this week. Everywhere we go, we'll be there. If there's a section final, we will be there.
It'll all be documented at youthhockeyhub.com and Youth Hockey Hub on the X machine. Update on Finland and Canada. They are through one period out there in Milan, and Mikko Rantanen of the Dallas Stars has the only goal of the contest. Yes, it's true. Finland leads 1-0 after one period of play. Still lots of hockey left to go in that one. Coming up later on, the United States takes on Slovakia. That'll be a 2:10 puck drop here in the Central Time Zone. What else are you looking for as far as section tournaments go?
So I got a bunch of section semifinal games tomorrow. Tomorrow we call it at YHH the Day of Death, right? So all the girls teams except two will be gone, right? We'll have two champions tomorrow. Almost every team in every section will be down to section finalists. So a lot of really good hockey teams will end their season tomorrow. And if you think about all the youth teams, there'll be 50, 60, 70 more youth teams that are going to be gone after tomorrow as well. So a lot of seasons will end tomorrow all over the state, but we'll be there to cover most and every one of those games possible. But so many good ones. Where do you want to start?
You tell me. No. This is your show. I'm just following your lead.
We'll go AAA. I got a few of them.
Throw down the breadcrumbs. I'm Hansel. I'm just following your path.
Mankato West and Mankato East play tomorrow at Gustavus. That's always a fun rivalry, especially in section play. West won the only meeting this year 5-0. Keep an eye on that one.
Okay.
Hermantown Cloquet, we talked about that one. How healthy is Hermantown? I think if Hermantown's healthy, they can win this section. I think they were one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the state before they had to hit the injury bug. Blake versus Minneapolis.
Okay.
This will be a good one, right? You got to Blake. Blake smoked them earlier 6-1 during the regular season, but Minneapolis beat Breck last night.
That's an upset, right?
My son went to the game. He goes, I got chills when Chris Grassel, who was coached by Joe Dietzick.
Yeah.
Chris Grassel, and it was actually a frat brother of my son's. He's like, I got chills, Dad. He was going through the handshake line, shaking hands with his old coach, and obviously some of the Minneapolis fans were sending their pleasantries to their ex-coach. But at the end of the day, Joe did a great job of Minneapolis hockey for 15 years. They'll take on Blake. That's going to be a really good game on Tuesday night back in your backyard over at the rec center.
Yep, that'll be great.
And then to finish it up, now this is a weird one. Why would I even say Warroad and Thief River Falls? Warroad's one of the best 4 teams in the state, but guess where they're playing tomorrow?
Where are they playing tomorrow?
In Thief River Falls.
Wow.
I was at a section final back in the Damon Gardner, Jason Shagabe, Carson Pilgrim era at East Grand Forks. There were about 1,800 of the 2,000 fans were from Thief River Falls. These people travel well. I can only imagine when they host Warroad tomorrow at the Little Ralph and Thief, how packed that's going to be. Maybe the fans can get pull off the upset tomorrow. So that caught my eye. I'll be up there on, I got to look here. I'll be up in Thief River on Thursday. I wasn't sure if it was the Wednesday section final or Thursday. I'll be there on Thursday night for that section final. That's kind of my haunt up there. 8A, 8AA section finals, boys and girls. It's just a great time of year, and those people love hockey, Kevin.
So
they love hockey.
You're refereing for the year. I think you said you put that on the back burner. You don't have time for any of that.
Yeah, I never reffed playoffs. I reffed my last 3-pack on Monday night over at Minnetonka. And did you see my blown goal call?
I did. you guys put it on. I mean, it's one thing for it to happen, but you shine the light on it.
So I just came to the office. I'm like, I think I really blew this call. And then, of course, Michelle at our office goes, I'll pull it up on Live Bar. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, all right, let's put it out there. And then I had to make sure that it was really obvious it was me making the bad call and not some other District 6 official. Yeah. And when that was done, I got kind of roasted a little bit. I deserved it. And again, my apologies to the Prior Lake Squirt B2s.
It happens. From the text line 64686, love this segment with Tony Scott talking about girls and boys hockey. Also from the 651 area code, Drew in Wisconsin. What a great guest. No idea who this is, but so wonderful to hear someone talk with so much specific and specificity about great high school hockey systems here in Minnesota. Well done. You should have him on more often. Well, Drew in Wisconsin, you should listen to Beyond the Pond more often because he's on every single week. Just like Brett Blakemore's breakaways. Tony Scott and his youth hockey report has become a staple on Beyond the Pond, and we always appreciate your contributions.
It's a blast. My favorite part is just like the random people in my life that come out of the woodwork. Like my old boss from the 90s. Hey, I heard you on KFAN. I'm like, I haven't heard from you in 12 years.
That's great.
That's the best part of it for me.
You know, in case Micheletti's listening, what is the latest on Hibbing? I hate to have you on and not talk about Hibbing for even a second.
I feel like we're guilty, right?
I don't want to leave him out in the cold, so what's going on?
Hibbing plays Proctor tomorrow at Amsoil. Whoever that emailer was, he's right, or the text guy, he's right. It's going to be an amazing day at Amsoil. They take on Proctor, who obviously beats Hermantown. I've said this before. I told the boys from Hibbing, I spent some stuff media day with them last week. I think they're the best hockey team 5-on-5, A or AA. You have to see these guys. That's why I was trying to drag you guys up to see them. They lost to Hermantown at the game I went to. I still just was like, they're amazing. They move the puck around. They play at this rink called Greenhaven in Hibbing, and they're just a bunch of pond hockey goofballs. And when they score, they're Selly, they must sit at Greenhaven and just practice sellies because it's the most original content you'll see out there. I mean, pros should take a few cues from these guys.
I know you guys do a lot of great work at Youth Hockey Hub, and it's going to be pumping out some content over, especially while things are at a fever pitch leading into March Madness. I did see a podcast featuring Kevin Gorg on your site.
He was.
The Kevin Gorg? You were able to nail him down for a podcast?
It was amazing. You know, he came in and spent some time with Olivia King, who's been here a few times.
You talked about it with Paul yesterday.
And he's such a good guy. Like, he and I have so many mutual connections. I was in there for felt like 5 minutes. Someone goes, Tony, that was 28 minutes you and they were talking. We were just BSing about all of our mutual connections, whether it's be through Burnsville or Southwest or U of M or broadcasting or whatever. He's such a good guy. He saw all the jerseys. You came in, you've been in the studio. Yeah. He was like, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And he didn't even get a chance to see all the trophies of all the teams where he's like, these trophies are amazing. Everything is cool. I go, this is like Disneyland for a little kid.
I would love to see you and Kevin Gorg in the same room at the same time and see who takes a breath first. I think it'd be awesome.
We were battling. We were battling yesterday. It was good.
Good stuff. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have, but I think for fans out there, they appreciate this. I mean, we talk a lot about everything else in the world of sports. We don't focus enough on youth hockey, and when we get the opportunity to shine a light on it, we take that opportunity, and we had that chance today. We do it every week on Beyond the Pond, but it was great to do it here in prime time, I'll say, during the Paul Allen Project. So thanks for making the trip up here. Thanks for helping us get ready for the boys tournament right around the corner, and the girls tournament happening right now in St. Paul.
Thanks, Kevin. See you around the rink.
Yes, you will. There he is, Tony Scott, youthhockeyhub.com and at Youth Hockey Hub on the Twitter machine. We'll break, and then when we continue, you're going to say why? Well, we're going to talk to Woody Paige next on The Fan. An update from Milan. Finland still holding on to the 1-0 lead over Canada. They just started the first period just over a minute into, just started the second period just over a minute into period number 2. The Stars' Mikko Rantanen, the only goal was a huge collision just inside the Finnish blue line. But it sounds like the intensity is picking up there. Momentarily, we'll be joined by Woody Paige, a name that I'm sure most of you know, a guy who was on ESPN forever. I know him prior to that in my time in Denver. That was the first show I worked on. It was called Woody and the Man. So I very much look forward to checking in with Woody Paige when he calls. Meanwhile, as we watch this semifinal action from Milan, I got Zach Halverson in studio. I got Brett Blakemore on the other side of the glass.
Were you the man?
No, the man was
I just wanted to know.
The man was a guy by the name of Todd Mansfield, and basically, and we'll have Woody get into this. It was a brand new show. They didn't know each other, so for the first parts of this existence, the man spent his time there getting ripped on by Woody. That was the basis of the show. He just basically made fun of him, and I don't think the man took it all that well. They ended up dissolving that relationship down the line, but it was fun at that point in time. I mean, this is 30 years ago that I worked with Woody before he became the star of ESPN's Around the Horn. So I look forward to touching base with him. We had a mutual friend die over the past week in Doug Moe, and some of you might know that name, a legendary name in the coaching fraternities. And he actually did a show from 3 to 7, I think, on that same station. And that's how I got to know him. And unfortunately, he passed away here earlier this week due to a long and lengthy illness. But we'll get into that. Woody certainly knew Doug much closer than I did. Meanwhile, we're watching this hockey game, and this could be quite the upset. And would it be an upset? I mean, Finland's a pretty darn good team, but Canada's loaded.
It would be. I mean, look at the roster. I mean, anybody who beats Canada this year, it would be an upset. And obviously, Finland's very good. Now we just saw a delayed penalty, so now Canada going to go on the power play, probably tie it up and kill all the hopes and dreams of the Finns. But yeah, I have to watch it in here. I mean, Brad, you can attest to like the best TV in this place now is in the studio. So unfortunately, if I want to watch this game in crystal clear high definition,
it's also the only one that has the magical Peacock app because Brett put it on there.
Yeah, it's probably in 4K.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
so that's
close.
Nice. I can't decide if I want to rip on you for failing at initials or on his rough tummy situation.
Oh,
Either one is fun.
I heard about last Saturday.
It didn't sound.
Abbott was lost. He was calling me, trying to figure out how to do everything again.
Yeah. All right, let's pick this up in a little bit. The hotline has been inhabited. That's not a word. Boy, to go to a journalist and use that word right off the bat. The great Woody Paige joins us on the line. Woody, Kevin Falmus. Man, it has been way too long since I've heard that giggle. Thanks for joining us here on KFAN in the beautiful Twin Cities.
As Bob Uecker used to say, they don't call him the best analyst in business for nothing. Kevin Falmus is the best producer in the history of my career in radio and television.
There's a liner for you.
And now you're a star.
I wouldn't go quite that far, Mr. Page. I was explaining to the listeners in a different lifetime. I left Minnesota about 30 years ago, and I end up in Denver, Colorado, working for a brand new all sports station. And the first show I produced 30 years ago was Woody and the Man. I've got three big things that come to mind when I think about working with you on that show. What do you remember about that show and that station that we started back in 1995?
Well, it's still going strong without me and without you. That's the first thing that comes to mind. They've been successful over the years, the Fan, and I think the Fan shows all over and radio stations all over the country. But the first thing I'd like to say is my heart and my support goes out to Minneapolis and all its great citizens. I love Minneapolis. But given the atrocities that have happened there, I think constantly about how much enjoyment I've had coming to Minneapolis for different sports.
Yeah.
Watching the Wild beat the Avalanche in a first round, watching the Vikings, being there for the Twins in the World Series, being there for football games. I've spent a lot of time in Minneapolis and really enjoyed myself there. So I'd like to reach out to everybody there and say I'm wishing and hoping for you that times are good, both in sports and in real life.
I think everyone definitely appreciates that, Woodrow. That's really nice of you to say. It has been tough times here in the Twin Cities, but hopefully the clouds are breaking, the sun is shining, and we're heading down a new direction, and hopefully we can get all this past them. Well, the sun is not shining. I meant figuratively because we just got dumped on literally by a foot of snow over the past 24, 48 hours. So the sun is not shining, actually, literally, but figuratively it is kind of.
I just read a report, Kevin, that an Australian reporter, sports reporter, has gone on radio and apologized for going on radio drunk the day before. It's a good thing that I didn't have to apologize for going on the radio drunk today. When you put me on at this time in the morning, I'm not drunk yet.
It's too early in the day. Well, you are in the Mountain Time Zone. What if it was, yeah. Let me bring three memories to mind when I think of Woody Paige, and these are things that I think will strike you to the core. Your bumper music, two of the ones that jump to mind, Walking in Memphis and Phantom of the Opera. Those were staples on that on your shows when I produced them. My favorite bit, and I brought this back here, and you can comment on these as you like. You made people call in and say how much they love you for 3 hours. Then the next day, you had them call in for 3 hours and rip you. Not only call you, but you had them fax in their thoughts about you, whether it be good or bad, and they would win some kind of a prize if they made you laugh, even if they ripped you. I thought it was brilliant.
I had done a show on another radio station prior to that just tore Denver apart. I played a game of Scrabble against the state champion. Anybody that's ever known about Scrabble knows that you sit there and don't talk for 3 hours, except for about every 4 minutes you go, highlight. 4 points. So, my checkered career in radio, I will tell people in Minneapolis, and they obviously don't either know me or care about me, but I was fired by 16 different radio stations in Denver for different reasons. One guy walked in who was an owner of a station one day, and he had his record collection, his album collection under his arm. And I said, John, what is that all about? You're cleaning out your albums? He said, no, that's my new format. You're fired. And I had a woman, I'm going to tread lightly here, but a woman who owned a radio station that she bought for her son. And she called me during a news break once and told me that I could not say what I said about a Colorado football coach. Someone asked me what I thought of his efforts, and I said, well, you can say the word ass on radio, and you can say the word hole. But you just can't say them both at the same time. And she called and fired me during a news break. But
and that was it. You went and got lunch.
I think the most fun I ever had, though, was working with you and the station and the guy who brought you in, who also had come from Minneapolis, I think.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that, sports director. And he brought in a guy that was from Las Vegas, and he called the show Woody and the Man. And people would say to me, but you're the man. He's not the man. And so I did my best to get him kicked off the show. And I successfully made him say an F word on air one day, talking about going yard. And he just got so upset that I would say home runs were going yard. And he eventually got fired. I don't know where he is now. But
I'm going to guess. I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think the man has recovered from his brief time with you as we started up that station in Denver. You did say, and I think kind of kiddingly, that people here in the Twin Cities might not know the name Woody Paige, but I don't think that's true, Woody. Maybe if you hadn't broke onto the television screen, maybe that would be the case. But Around the Horn, 3,000 episodes on ESPN, and you ended up as the leader with 700 wins. Of all people in this world, how'd they talk you into TV?
Actually, I had on the night of the change to the new millennium, I was in the Panama Canal with my girlfriend, and we had decided to go to Panama Canal in case the world came to an end when the millennium changed.
Sure.
And we were in our room on the ship, and suddenly, while we were making love, to be truthful, she said, "You're on TV." And I had worked for ESPN Classic, which had a show that was very popular then. Classic doesn't really exist the way it did then, but they were picking the top athlete of the century. And Michael Jordan got the award, and the network had interviewed me about Michael Jordan. And you'd think it'd been somebody in Chicago, but Jordan and I had a good relationship then and do now, because we played blackjack together in Monte Carlo when the Dream Team went over there in 1992. And anyway, the president of the network called me and said, we liked your work on Classic. Would you like to come join us on an ESPN show? Meet me at the Super Bowl. And I did. He said, we're going to start a companion show to Pardon Interruption. It's going really well. Would you like to do it? And I said, nah.
Nah.
Really, I said that. I said, yeah, I think I was 53, 54. I said, yeah, I just wanted, I've stopped doing sports radio, and I just want to concentrate on my column. And they came back to me about 3 times and said, I said, what kind of show are you doing? And they said, well, it'll be kind of like Hollywood Squares, and you'll be the man in the middle. And so that's, they finally talked me into it. And after 2 months, I tried to quit because I thought I was awful and I thought the show was awful. And we ended up being on the air for more than 23 years. And what I'm proud of is there's shows like Cheers and MASH that didn't, and like a Seinfeld show, you'd think they would hold records for consecutive shows or something. But we did 23 years on the air, and a new hierarchy arrived at ESPN and decided that it was time to end the show. And I think it had something to do with they thought it was time for me to get off the television. And so the last show was in May, and I'm now doing a show, which a podcast with a couple of guys that you knew from Denver.
After the Horn.
And we're doing, I named it After the Horn.
Yep.
And ESPN hadn't copyrighted After the Horn. So we do a podcast, YouTube channel show, and we have some fun with it and talk sports and some politics and do it every week. And that keeps me really alive doing a new form of medium since you and I were together.
Yeah, and I just can't, I couldn't imagine you going to TV. Now you're doing podcasts and you're working on YouTube. If you want to find that show, you can find it. Just do a simple search on YouTube for After the Horn, and you can see Woody Paige there in living color via your YouTube screen. It's also available wherever you get podcasts, along with Ron Zappolo and Tom Green there in the Denver area. I did watch your most recent episode, and it brought a tear to my eye. You guys were talking about the great Doug Moe, and I don't know how well the fans here know Doug Moe. I remember him from that time when he hosted the show that first year. That's how I met him, and I wish I would have kept in touch with him better over the past 30-some years, but I know you were pretty close to him, and listening to you, Ron, and Tom talk about Doug Moe passing away earlier this week, man, it was heart-wrenching.
I would say this in all honesty. I think Doug Moe was the most fun coach in professional sports history. And if people in Minneapolis, St. Paul, throughout Minnesota didn't get the opportunity to either watch him coach or watch him be interviewed, here's a guy that out of 10 years of coaching the Denver Nuggets, he took the team to the playoffs and the Western Conference Finals 9 times that he was in the playoffs. And on the day he got fired by the Denver Nuggets, he's the one who announced it at a press conference.
Awesome, yeah.
He said, I've been fired. I have the scoop. I've been fired. And so he was an incredible man. Larry Brown, who's a famous coach in both college and professional basketball, and Doug Moe and I were sitting along the canal in San Antonio. Anybody that's been there, that's a famous canal that runs through downtown. And we were at a bar there, and neither one of them drank, so I had to drink for the 3 of us. And Larry Brown looked at me and he said, you know what I hate most about San Antonio? The only thing I like here is the guacamole. And Doug Moe said, don't say that for Woody, he'll put it in the newspaper. And so I did, of course. It was a headline the next day in San Antonio. Larry Brown hates everything but the guacamole. The odd aspect of this was that Doug Moe, as an assistant coach to Larry Brown, tried to keep him in order, because he would say things like, at the end of the season, he said, we got to back up the truck and get a whole new team here. And Doug would calm him down. But oddly enough, both of them ended up coaching, being the head coach in San Antonio. And I just find that hilarious that the guys that ripped on San Antonio the most ended up actually being successful coaches in that city, and that's where Doug Moe ended up living his last I should say a couple of decades in San Antonio, and I'm sorry we lost Doug. He was kind to me for years and years, but he called me a big stiff, which is what he had, the name he had for losers.
Yep.
But when first time we went to New York for a game between the Knicks and the Nuggets, he took me to Brooklyn and showed me where he was born and where he lived as a kid.
Oh, cool.
And for those of us who are old, he lived just outside the left field wall at Ebbets Field.
Wow.
Where the Brooklyn Dodgers played. So when he was a little kid, he could sneak in the back door and watch the Dodgers play. And I just thought, a coach doesn't do that for, some goofy sports writer, but he did. I had great respect. I wrote for my dream as a kid was to write for two sports publications. One was Sport Magazine, which was bigger than Sports Illustrated when I was young.
Yep.
And the other was the Sporting News. And I was a columnist for the Sporting News for several years on basketball. And you had a sports writer in Minneapolis and St. Paul that I really had great respect for. And he was a writer for Sporting News. And we didn't meet until the Final Four between Georgetown and North Carolina. And people who followed college basketball will know that famous game in New Orleans in the Superdome when a guy named Michael Jordan hit the winning shot, and everybody now knew Michael Jordan. And I sat next to one of the guys I idolized, who was the sports columnist for 87 years in Minneapolis.
Yep.
And he, when I told him who I was, he wasn't very happy. He was, as I said, he was one of the icons in the business. I wrote, Kevin, in the 80s, on April Fool's Day, I wrote that the Minnesota Twins were moving to Colorado. And at the end of the column, I said, April Fools.
Yeah.
And someone sent that column to him without the last line. And he wrote a column ripping me.
Oh, my goodness.
Saying I was an idiot. Well, I am an idiot, and I always have been, but it was the April Fool's column. And, of course, the Twins didn't move to Denver. But I remember World Series there, as I mentioned earlier, with those garbage bags in the outfield, playing in the Dome Stadium there, the old one.
Yep, Metrodome.
Thankfully was eliminated at some point. A guy you will also remember, Jimmy Armstrong, who did a lot of sports talk radio here. He and I went for a Christmas Day game between the Vikings and the Broncos. And we're staying at the Marriott downtown, and I hope it's still there because the Dome Stadium is gone.
Yep.
But we check in, and the clerk at the desk said, "You guys are very fortunate. We got nobody staying in the hotel, so we're giving you, a major upgrade." So I go to my room, and I can't believe it, and I get a call from Jimmy Armstrong, and he says, "I've got a bar in my hotel room. There's a bar." He said, "You got to come down." I said, "Well, why don't you come up to I have a grand piano in my room and 2 bedrooms." I got placed in the presidential suite in downtown Minneapolis, and that's still my favorite
Unbelievable.
Marriott in the entire world. And so we go down to the bar. He comes up and he goes, "This is incredible." Had a kitchen. It was the presidential suite. Had a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, and a grand piano. And we go down to the bar where there's only about 3 of us in the bar on Christmas Eve in Minneapolis. And the waitress comes up to us and says, "What can I get you?" And we start talking to her, and Jimmy says, "Can you play the piano?" And I said, "That's the worst opening line of one I've ever heard in my life."
That's good stuff.
But you've had some success with a cross-country runner from Minnesota. Minnesota and Colorado are major contributors to the Winter Olympics. Wisconsin.
Yeah.
How does Wisconsin have so many great speed skaters? There've been like 50.
What else is there to do? What else is there to do in Wisconsin? You might as well skate, right?
Oh gosh, you don't do it. I've been to 13, 14 Olympics, and I was in Norway, and Norway hated Sweden. And after the first week of the Olympics, the Norwegian newspapers put in a headline that said, "Sweden tied in medals with Mexico." So Wisconsin and Minnesota have that kind of, Colorado has a rivalry with Nebraska.
Yep.
And I once wrote that we should put a big wall up between Nebraska and Colorado so nobody could come over from Nebraska and live in Colorado.
I'm sure that went over well. We're talking to Woody Paige. I've taken up enough of your time. The other parallel here is I constantly watch your work bagging on the Colorado Rockies. We've got kind of a same situation here in Minnesota. How are we going to fix baseball, Woody? I like watching the Twins. You like watching the Rockies. But right now they're at the bottom of the league in both their respective leagues. How do we get this fixed here?
Well, for people, again, that in Minnesota pay no attention to me, which is most, I would guess 99.9%, you may be the only guy that reads my tweets about what I call the Rock's Bottom team, because they are at Rock's Bottom after last year losing 119 games. But baseball thinks that the solution is salary cap, because every other league has salary caps. And so will that solve baseball's problem? No, not at all, because still the best teams and the richest teams will continue, like the Dodgers, Yankees to an extent, will continue to get most of the best players. People want to play in New York and in Los Angeles. But if I were approaching trying to improve in both those cities, Twin Cities, and the Twin Cities of Colorado. Yep. People don't know that except Denver and Aurora.
Yep.
Although the presidents have been talking about Aurora and the gangs there. But I would look at the Houston Astros. What they did, and I'm not talking about the cheating, but prior to that, the Houston Astros were one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, yet they developed such a strong minor league system that they had to suffer for 3 or 4 years. But the Astros have been a good team, playoff team since then, Kevin.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not salary cap that's going to be the solution, because every other league has figured out ways. Teams in the leagues in the NBA, NFL, have figured out ways to go around the salary cap. The salary cap is a joke as far as I'm concerned, because you can sign a wide receiver with the Vikings and pay him over 87 years, something like that. But I think you got to improve teams, and Minnesota has some really good teams, good managers, great players that have come through there. There's a cycle for what I call the medium city teams. I think that you've got to develop a minor league system. If you look at the top teams that are rated in organizations at the A, AA, AAA level, they're the ones that continue to win year after year. But I think there's this put a Band-Aid on it kind of attitude that teams like Minnesota and the Rockies have had. So I think the answer is just develop, hire the best scouts in the world, Asian ball players, the Latinos, the Venezuelan players that are great. I think that's what you do to develop it, to be totally serious, which is not, as you know, having worked with me for 2 years,
yep.
That I'm not very serious much about myself or about sports, because I take both of us as just, guilty pleasures.
Without a doubt.
It's really good to talk to you again. I hope that I'm able to come back, because I love those tunnels in the sky from skyscraper to skyscraper.
Exactly.
They're still all there. I love traveling all over downtown Minneapolis when I was there, and the Mall of America, where that home plate is. I love that.
That's exactly right.
I love Minnesota, except you get some bad weather.
Yeah,
Colorado does.
don't come in the winter and make your home there in Colorado. I just want to say, as a parting shot, I don't know when I'll talk to you again. I don't know if I'll talk to you again, but I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you. You might not realize the impact you had on my life and what a mentor you were to me as a younger man. I take it forward each and every day. So again, I don't know when or if we'll ever talk again, but I love that I had the opportunity to thank you.
I got to interrupt you. First of all, we were a good team, and you were a young man, and I stayed on your ass all the time. And I hope that at least was a positive in your life as it turned out. But the second thing, you keep saying, if we talk again, you sound like I'm about to die.
I don't mean it like that. I haven't talked to you in 30 years, Woody, so I thought, I don't know if we'll ever get it. I don't know where I'll be in 30 years. I don't know where you'll be either. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that out.
I can't talk to you. You go to every hockey game that exists in that state, night after night.
Yeah.
And when the season's not playing, you still are talking about hockey every day.
Yeah, pretty much.
I end with Doug Moe, you talked about, knew nothing about hockey, but yet the station that you and I work for called him Hockey Doug.
Yes. It was one of the great ironies of life.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. And again, my thoughts always go out to Minnesota over the last several weeks and months. And I hope everything's it's calming down there, and that the great cities, the two cities, best of times, worst of times. You've gone through the worst of times. Now you're going to go through the best of times.
Thank you, Woodrow.
Thanks,
Stay well. There he is, Woody Paige of a star of print and screen. That was very self-serving, and it went a lot longer than I thought it would, but it was phenomenal to catch up with him after a long time. Still very active on the old Twitter machine. You heard he's got the After the Horn podcast as well. Find that on YouTube. But he was a crabby individual back in the day. I think he's lightened up here a little bit. But again, he meant a lot to me in my career, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank him. Quick little update in the semifinals. Finland jumped out to a 2-0 lead over Canada, but the Canadians are on the board. Cale Makar with a blast on the power play, redirected by Sam Reinhart, and out to 2-1 hockey game. Late in period number 2. That's the update on the semifinals. We are way late for a break, so we'll take that now. Joe O'Donnell next on The Fan. This might be the worst clock management in the history of The Fan, and that's saying something. This is a station that has Dan Barrero, a station that has Dan the Common Man Cole. I just completely blew up the clock because I couldn't stop Woody, and nor did I want to. But because of that, now I'm paying the price for the 11 o'clock hour. Here's your update from Milan. They're just at the end of the second period. Icing call coming back in the Finland zone, an offensive zone faceoff for Canada. Finns still holding on to a 2-1 lead with 36 seconds left in the middle frame. Canada down 2-1 to the Finns, but out shooting them 22-10 as they get the breather for intermission. Unfortunately, I got to take another quick break. Then we'll get Joe O'Donnell and Brody Lamb before we wrap up the show, 9 to noon on The Fan.